After cruising across every category of cruise line, I keep coming back to Oceania. I've cruised 5 times across three of their current classes of ships, my most recent being a 90-night Sydney to Papeete cruise on Riviera. Yet for a line I return to and recommend, I often get messages from viewers and read reviews from cruisers saying they were underwhelmed or asking what all the hype and why do I like them was all about. Welcome aboard, I'm Gary Bembridge, and I want to talk bluntly about 5 things that are misunderstood about Oceania Cruises and the gaps between what they promise and what many people experience. And importantly, where it matters and where it does not. Before I get into that, a quick scene setter. Oceania is part of Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings alongside their mainstream resort line, Norwegian Cruise Line, and the ultra-luxury Regent 7 Cruises. They're in what's often called the small ship luxury category that sits between the premium category with lines like Princess, Celebrity and Holland America, and the ultra-luxury one with lines like Regent, Crystal, Seabourn and Silver Sea. Also in this segment are lines like Viking, Azamara, Windstar and Explorer Journeys. Oceania's ships range from 670 guests on their oldest R-class ships, Insignia, Serena, Regatta, Nautica, up to the 1,250 on their O-class, Riviera and Marina, and Vista and Allura Vista-class ships. And new, even bigger Sonata-class ships are coming in 2027 with 1,390 guests. They also went adults only at the start of 2026, making them the second 18+ only luxury category line alongside Viking. Then there's the marketing promises, which as you'll hear, cause them some issues. They claim to be the world's leading culinary and destination-focused luxury cruise line with the trademarks the finest cuisine at sea and award-winning itineraries, small ship luxury registered. These are bold claims, so let's explore if they really stack up. Their promise of the finest cuisine at sea is the single biggest source of disappointment I hear about. So many people on each of those 5 cruises told me the food just didn't live up to that. But is that because Oceania has set themselves an almost impossible bar with that claim, or is there a big issue with their food these days? In my view, they're not the finest cuisine at sea, as they cannot and do not match the gold standard of cruise dining, which for me is Cunard's Queen's Grill. That's a smaller, more exclusive environment with totally changing daily menus. Every meal is silver service with vegetables served from platters and so on, rather than plated meals. It has an off-menu classics that are made to order, not mass-produced, like beef Wellington, duck à l'orange. They have tableside flambé desserts like cherries Jubilee and so on. Also, to ensure the finest cuisine experience, the Queen's Grill maitre d' and chef will happily get the kitchen to make something completely bespoke, like curries and dairy-free baked Alaska that my partner has custom-made when cruising in Cunard Queen's Grill. But also, as Oceania is not an ultra-luxury line with their budget and resources, I don't feel or found they can compete with the likes of, say, Crystal's Nobu partnership or Silver Sea's unique Salt restaurant, with dishes always totally linked to the very specific region that's being sailed in. I find that based on their finest cuisine at sea claim, many people are upgrading from premium lines board expecting Michelin-style levels of dining with dramatically elevated food and more exotic dishes. But what they get is beautifully prepared, plated food and larger menus that, at its heart, is still classic cruise dining. Those people I speak to coming to Oceania from lines with suite-specific restaurants like Cunard Grills and Celebrity Retreat Lumini do not see the promise delivered as much, nor do those coming from those who've tried ultra-luxury lines. And yet, here is the twist. I always find that Oceania has great food, among the best and absolutely in my experience leading in that small ship luxury category they compete in. I just wish they didn't oversell it so hard, as I feel they've set themselves up and undersell just how good their food is in reality. On their ships their size, I found the choice impressive, and what is included in the fare is excellent. Here's what is included on the largest ships. The Grand Dining Room is the main dining room. Beautiful venue, open for breakfast, lunch on sea days and for dinner. It's open seated dining and you can always get a table for 2 or any size you want. It has a big, varied menus that are far more extensive than on premium lines and match ultra luxury for choice. Each night the menu has course by course sections, destination global cuisine dishes, Aquamar Vitality spa dishes, Jacques Pepin dishes, that's their culinary partner, and a wine pairing option. All of these were included along with some daily standards in the appetizer, entree, soup, salad and side dishes sections. There is also a 6 dessert and 6 ice cream menu with a daily souffle option. The Terrace Cafe offers buffet breakfast, lunch and themed dinners with many items from that evening's grand dining room menu. While just 2 on the small ship, there are 4 specialty restaurants on the larger ships. Red Ginger for Asian, one of the most popular amongst guests, Toscana for Italian, Polo Grill for steak, and Jacques for French. The fare allows 1 visit each, unless in the top-end cabins, but I find I can usually get more during the sailing. For casual dining, there is the Waves Grill on the pool deck for healthy breakfast, burgers and hot dogs at lunch, and turns into pizzeria at night. Then there is baristas for the included specialty coffees and light bites throughout the day. In the lounge overlooking the bow every day at 3:30 p.m. is the signature and very good Oceania afternoon tea. Trolleys with savoury and sweet treats are brought round with a choice of scones on offer too. They also put on a massive grand brunch in the grand dining room on longer voyages, which is massive and rather impressive. Where they do themselves no favours is on attention to detail, which I think also at times undermines the finest cuisine at sea claim. For example, on all trips, including the most recent, I've repeatedly seen menus describe dishes that simply aren't what arrived at the table. For example, a chicken liver pate that was more like a terrine, or a chocolate lava cake that was really kind of just a cake with a rather solid center rather than a hot oozing sponge. Also on my recent Oceania Riviera trip, I ordered soft poached eggs 6 times across the cruise for breakfast. Not once were they soft. Even most mainstream and premium lines can get that right in my experience. These little mismatches matter when you're telling the world you have the finest cuisine at sea. The second big challenge I have is around their claim to be destination focused through their award-winning itineraries marketing line. While I do find the itineraries themselves are pretty superb, Oceania regularly offers some of the most interesting, in-depth routes in the small ship luxury space, in fact. My recent Sydney to Papeete voyage on Riviera through the South Pacific and French Polynesian islands is a perfect example. It was a unique and very intensive itinerary. Their shore excursions are generally well run with good local operators, but here's my issue. They do a terrible job of immersing us guests into those destinations on board. On all my voyages, there have been no port-specific talks at all, not even basic briefings about what to expect in the ports, like docking, facilities, a guide to help self-exploring, and so on. The enrichment speakers we have had were loosely connected to the itinerary, often talking in broad strokes rather than about the detail of the places we were visiting. For a line setting itself on destinations, for me that's a huge miss, especially like when we were traveling in a less traveled region. Most guests, including me, didn't really know the history, the culture, or even the logistics in the ports. Instead, all we got was a vague, very corporate kind of one-page port outline on a TV, or you could pick it up from a desk in the lobby. It wasn't even delivered to the cabin, and it had very little practical, up-to-date detail. This, for me, is rather poor. Just one example, typical of several ports, is when we went to Huani, French Polynesia, the tender dropped us at a spot miles or anything, so nothing for anyone self-exploring to do there. But nowhere on the ship had they mentioned there was actually a $10 shuttle bus into Fare on the sister island, which had great shops, markets, and incredible beaches. I met so many confused, underwhelmed passengers wandering around in so many ports, ranging from Pago Pago, Vanuatu and others, just not knowing what to do and missing out brilliant opportunities simply because they weren't briefed and prepared on board. My takeaway now is that if I do sail Oceania, I should do my own region and port homework. They're much weaker than lines like Viking in their category, who always have speakers doing deep dives into the itinerary, history, culture, and detailed port briefings. By the way, on this latest trip, they didn't even have a talk by the excursions team about the tours, which seemed unusual. The third thing I don't think is understood is that their small ship luxury promise means different things depending on which Oceania ship you're on, based on my experience. As mentioned earlier, there are 3 distinct classes today, soon to be 4. The R-class ships, Insignia, Serena, Regatta, and Nautica, carry about 670 guests. They feel older, they do feel more intimate, but have of course way fewer venues and truly tiny bathrooms. The O-Class Riviera and Marina, which are my favorites, they've been modernized, but they still feel classic. They have great dining choice, lots of lounges, good deck space, great cabin design and decor. The casino that's pretty lively without being overwhelming. A good solid build quality with great soundproofing between the cabins. Then there's the Vista class, Vista and Allura, which are newer, very stylish, but on my sailing I had kind of serious noise and soundproofing issues that put me off cruising again, so I actually chose Riviera instead for that next cruise, and I'm glad that I did. Many people, though, I must say, prefer the Vista class. It's more slick, it's much more modern, has much more contemporary decor. What is consistent is the onboard vibe. The daily program is pretty light, as with most small ship luxury lines, but there's always trivia, group games, bingo, dance classes, and the chance to collect O points by attending these different events, which at the end of the cruise you can redeem for merchandise. Richmond is decent with things like the Artist Loft, hosted arts and crafts, the culinary centre, cooking classes, which have an adult charge of $99 per person. They also have bridge and digital learning classes. Entertainment is a pretty weak area in my view, though to be fair, this area is not a strength of any small ship luxury line either. The production shows are fine, but pretty standard cruise production shows put on by a 12-strong singer and dancer group with a live band, so that's a big plus. They are the usual cruise-themed reviews like Broadway, Neil Diamond, Motown, and so on. Guest entertainers are also pretty standard cruise ones. There's good live music with a string quartet, a pianist, a party band, of course that theatre band. They run the occasional themed deck party like ABBA, of course, and they have a blue party. Next, I must talk about the fares and inclusion and exclusions. Over the years, I found Oceania fares and inclusions a bit confusing because they keep changing them and the names and the inclusions. The current structure seems to be settled. It's called Your World Included. The fares now include gratuities, non-streaming Starlink Wi-Fi, all specialty dining, group fitness classes, and things like sodas, specialty coffees, teas, juices, smoothies, that kind of stuff. You then get to choose either a shore excursion credit up to $600 per guest, depending on the voyage length, or complimentary wine and beer during lunch and dinner times. So that's in any dining venue and bars between 12 and 1:30 p.m., between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. One thing I missed was there's also a best value guarantee buried in all that, which means that if a better promotion appears before you sail, it can be applied to your booking. But that isn't really shouted about, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to find the details. I missed out exploiting this because you obviously have to request it at the time of the promotions, and there's lower prices. I only realized once aboard that the sailing I'd been on had been discounted quite a lot after I booked by talking to people. What isn't included is where costs can rack up fast. The premium drinks package is about $40 a day per person, including gratuity, which is worth it though if you drink outside of restaurant hours, because individual cocktails, even non-alcoholic ones, are around $15 plus gratuity. Excursions aren't wildly out of line for this category, but I still spent over $1,100 on just 6 tours on that last cruise. They included things like a Duck Island trip in Namibia for $139, a Suva Pearl Hotel Resort experience at $209, and a homestead and market tour in Apia at $259. Spa prices are eye-wateringly high. Streaming Wi-Fi was around $20 a day extra. And with these add-ons, it's easy to board thinking you've booked something close to all-inclusive, but still feeling this kind of bit of nickel and diming going on. Another thing several people I spoke to had not known about is they could have got much more of Oceania if they'd cruised on other Norwegian group lines. The group now status match across Norwegian, Oceania and Regent, although unlike Royal Caribbean, you must request it by email for each cruise individually. Now I did that after hitting gold on Regent, and I got a bunch of extra perks for this recent sailing by status matching, the best being $650 in onboard credit. Oceania is, I feel, a great step up for cruisers coming from premium lines like Celebrity, Holland America, Princess and Cunard, wanting to try a less crowded, busy and noisy cruise. So Oceania, while they do have smaller ships, there's still a decent amount of choice of bars, lounges, a busy enough casino, many dining options, and enough going on to be entertained, and importantly at a price point well below ultra luxury lines. But if you're not sure if Oceania is the right small ship luxury line, join me over in this video where I compare it to all the other lines in the category. Who's good, who's not, and why. See you over there.